You know it! It is a hump day edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Hump day.
Welcome in, no matter what you're doing, wherever you're going. We appreciate you taking us along for the ride. Hope your day is going well. Mine is. Long night last night, traveling to see the Kylie Soccer Brigade.
You're committed, Father.
Hey, got to be. They go 7-1 on the season, vanquishing their district foe that they could not beat last year. Beat them 7-0. How about them apples?
They're already done?
From the game last night?
No, I mean for the year?
No, they beat them 7-0.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they went 7-0.
They're 7-1 right now.
Gotcha.
But we've got lots to talk about on the program today. Matt Weaver, Mike Schumann. Matt Weaver, of course, at Peaks.com. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. We're going to get caught up on the football side and some basketball, recruiting news. A little bit of that out there. A little talk about Armand Franklin. It's almost D-Day, it looks like. College football polls out. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Before we get to that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your headlines for this September 5th on this Wednesday, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Make sure you stop in for your hot breakfast. Fill up your gas tank or hit up one of their daily lunch specials. $5.99 today, ribeye steak sandwich and cheesy potatoes. The Ryder Cup nearly set as Captain Jim Furyk uses his captain's picks on Tiger Woods. Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau. They join Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka, Webb Simpson, and Bubba Watson, who all qualified on points. He hasn't played since 2016, but former Philly great Ryan Howard officially retires from baseball, and the Seattle Storm and the Washington Mystics are set to square off in the WNBA Finals. Those are your headlines for September 5th on this Wednesday, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Don't forget, $5.99 today, ribeye steak sandwich and cheesy potatoes.
Delish! All sounds delish. Was in there, got my coffee this morning at Billy Joe's. Place is packed. It's the place to be, man. It's rolling in there in the mornings.
I hate when I get that lunch special list every week because it just makes me want to go to Billy Joe's every day.
Well, you should because the food's pretty good.
Yeah.
It ain't bad. Lots going on. Like I said, we've got a lot to get through today. College football polls out. We'll get on to that as well. How about Colin Kaepernick and Nike? You know, usually the old premise is no publicity is bad publicity or whatever, however it goes. Not quite so sure in this case because Nike is just getting hammered. People are burning their shoes, which is kind of dumb.
So dumb.
You probably paid $150 for those shoes and you're going to burn them? They're probably worn out, I would hope. Like, I would take an old pair of worn out Nikes. I think I may only have one pair of Nikes. Oh, when they are old worn out. I may take an old worn out pair and burn them.
Nah, old wore out pairs are the best for yard work.
That's true. They're best for everything. But it's the point of the matter is that's still a very sensitive, hot topic with the peeps.
Yeah.
A lot of hot takes, man. They're not on it. They're not with it.
Well, and my thing is, I think this is such a big topic because people don't understand what it's all about. Everybody has this misconception that Colin Kaepernick kneeled to disrespect our flag and our military when it's not about that at all.
He did disrespect the flag and disrespect the military. It is about that.
That's what he did along the way, but that's not what he's kneeling for.
Doesn't matter what he kneeled for when you're doing that along the way.
Right.
So if you walk by and kick me in the nuts, I need to know what your reason was. That's going to make it okay? I don't care what your reason is.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying there's a misconception out there that there's a big group of people that think he was kneeling just to disrespect the flag and the
Again,
and the
I think you're losing the point. Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Right.
That's the point. It's lost because of what he is disrespecting along the way. That whole thing is lost. And then the fact that some idiot like that wants to make all this noise and then he doesn't even vote? I got no respect for that. Get out of here with that crap.
Yeah, no, I agree for the most part. I mean, it's
Well, not for the most part.
no, I mean it's
Disagree with
Colin Kaepernick's a clown. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and I hate that he's made his way back into the media now. If I was hoping one day that if he was going to get back into the media, it would be because he's playing football again, not because of this whole issue that keeps coming up time and time again.
It's not. It's not going to happen. He's had opportunities.
Yeah.
But he wants to claim collusion and all this crap. I'm done with him. I'm like, who? Why are we still talking about that?
Right.
Why?
Just another case of media giving an athlete just too much time in the spotlight.
Well, in this case, it's Nike that has prompted that. Will that backfire? What do you think? Give us a text on the text line, 502-414-1450. Like to know what you think about it. What are your opinions? Are you okay with it? I'm not seeing too many people that are supporting it. I mean, I did see one or two. Now, athletes, that doesn't count. They'll
all stick together.
Some of them. Not all of them, though.
Sure.
But the general public who buys the Nike shoes, not seeming to be with it, man. Not seeming to be with it. So what's Nike's next move? Is it no publicity is bad publicity, and the next thing they come out with this All-American line, red, white, and blue line? We were kidding.
That'll reel them back in.
We were all just kidding.
Apparently they were paying Colin Kaepernick all along, just waiting for the right time to release this.
Since when, I wonder?
Probably since his playing days.
So he was still under contract?
Yep. Not doing anything.
Not a bad gig if you can get it.
Joker text in 502-414-1450 if you want to do the same. Says Colin found a way to make a name for himself, but he couldn't do it on the football field. Exactly. Well, I don't know. He kind of made a name for himself on the football field.
Yeah. But a much, much bigger name off the field.
Nobody would have known the name Colin Kaepernick had he not played football.
Well, no. Of course not. Of course not. But what do you think about the Nike situation? What do you think about that? With Colin Kaepernick, bringing him back as the focus of their campaign. Hit us on the text line, 502-414-1450. I'm just curious. I just think it's funny. I don't really care because I just ignore it.
Yeah.
I just completely ignore it because and for one thing, it aggravates me. It does aggravate me with Nike only because they're just doing this to milk that. They're exploiting the situation. They're exploiting the national anthem. They're exploiting all of that. They're exploiting veterans when they do that. When they do this very thing. This ain't about being behind Colin Kaepernick. Nike doesn't give a crap about him or anybody else. They care about the dollar, baby. They care that it's going to move some shoes. Yeah, it moves some shoes all right into the trash can, it looks like.
I don't know. Think about how many times you've heard the word Nike the last couple of days.
Yeah, and how many of it has not been positive?
Well, it's like you said. I mean, people are saying it. Their name's out there. They're getting all this advertisement for free.
But when it is all negative, that's usually not a good thing. When your stock drops 3% in the same day, not good.
Well, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll lower the prices.
Fat chance. Unless you get a pair of Colin Kaepernicks, you can get them kind of cheap. Just saying.
Half off.
Half off. Three for one, probably.
Another text into the show, 502-414-1450 if you want to do the same. First-time texter, Bill text in, says, you know it's a good week when hump day is your Monday and your Thursday is your Friday.
Not a bad gig. Thanks a lot for the text, brother. We appreciate you listening. Speaking of listeners, Nathan, we appreciate you listening. we got people all over the place now. We've got things up and running thanks to Jake from State Farm. He's not really from State Farm. I just gave them a free plug, didn't I? But he is wearing khakis. But we're available on iTunes, Google Play. Go to IndianaSportsBeat.com so you don't miss a single episode. You can register there, or you can follow us on Facebook as well, so you don't miss a single thing for the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers. So also on iTunes, give us if you're an iTunes person, give us a review. We just got up there, and the more reviews are obviously the better. So please give us a review, and a good one, I hope. How about, did you see the story about DeLon McCullough?
I did, yeah.
The former running backs coach at Indiana University, now currently a running backs coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, Sarah Spain of ESPN, has a great piece out right now. I'm not even going to tell you about it too much because I don't want to wreck the story. It is. I saw a headline and it said, for a truly jaw-dropping story. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I didn't know what it was about. I just started reading it. When I got to the jaw-dropping part, my jaw dropped. It is truly a jaw-dropping story, and a great story, a well-written story, and a story worth your time. I think I retweeted that on Facebook, so go check that out. I really don't even want to get in too much into the story. It is that good. I don't want to give anything away. It's just worth reading it. It won't take 10, 15 minutes of your time.
That's funny, because I was getting ready to bring up the point. Make sure you set aside about an hour, because it took me forever to read it.
Why?
It's a long story.
It ain't an hour-long story.
No, an hour.
What are you reading, word by word with finger?
An hour is a severe exaggeration. But I was, as I was reading it, I was thinking, man, I'd have much rather been watching the E60 of this.
It ain't that, folks. It is not that long. You're dealing with some.
It's that long.
Reading challenged person there. It is not. It is well worth the read. It's a great read.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is 100% accurate. Yeah, it was a hell of a story.
Sarah Spain, and I'll make sure that is up on my on the Indiana Sports Beat Facebook page. But great read. Oh, great story. So just go there and read that. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm going to wait a couple days, and we'll come back and revisit that.
Yep.
Maybe on Friday. So spoiler alert. You got till Friday, and we're going to bust it out all over it. Thanks for our listeners. We got just a new texter just there. We had Nathan. Found out since we've been up on iTunes, we've got listeners in the UK and Sweden. We've got them in Australia, California, Texas, all over and across the state of Indiana, of course. Very happy about that, and we thank each and every one of you for that. Also, the college football poll is out. No changes at the top. Shockingly, of course. Alabama remains at the top. Not a unanimous selection yet, though.
Wonder why.
Well, because a couple people think that Clemson is just as good. I think they received 3 first-place votes. They did. Ohio State received the other one. Clemson came in as in second this week. Georgia slipped ahead of Ohio State after Ohio State completely annihilated Oregon State. Put, 77 on them? Yep. And they drop a spot?
Yeah. No, they gained a spot.
Not Ohio State.
Yeah, they went to 4. They were 5.
Okay, they still were ahead of Georgia, and they are now behind Georgia.
Yeah. They leapfrogged Wisconsin, though.
In Michigan, they felt like a rock. They dropped like 8 or 9 spots after that miserable performance against Notre Dame. Season not starting out too well for Jim Harbaugh.
They went from 14 to 21.
7 spots? They only dropped 7 spots?
Mm-hmm. And it's worth noting, Alabama, with this number 1, actually tied Ohio State for the most weeks spent at number 1. 105.
How about Miami of Florida? Their stock's down, man. They did not look good against LSU. They lost handily to LSU over the weekend. Virginia Tech, the Hokies. That game was on Monday night, I think.
Sunday
night.
Yeah.
Florida State didn't. The Taggart era did not start well. Willie Taggart got it handed to him by Virginia Tech. Man, I don't know about him. This guy has made a career out of getting lucky. I mean, he's done okay. He did okay at Western. He did okay at, what was it, one of the Florida schools. The Bulls, I think.
Yeah,
South Florida, maybe.
Yep.
And then he gets the job at Oregon State, kind of unexpected, or Oregon, kind of unexpectedly. They're only a season. Jimbo Fisher bolts Florida State for Texas A&M, and here comes Willie Taggart.
Yeah, and I think you're one of the many that really doesn't know what to think about Taggart.
Yeah, I'm like,
he hasn't been around long enough.
He hasn't done anything.
Right.
And he's had 2 premier jobs in the last 2 years.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I'll say. But because he's going to make billions before no matter what happens at Florida State, he's going to make bank.
Yep.
Let's take a quick break. We've got plenty to get to today. We've got the college football poll out. On the program today, we've got Matt Weaver from Pigs.com, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. I think we'll hear from Don Fisher, for those of you who didn't hear him yesterday, coming up next. Right after this.
Do the Humpty Hump, sexy baby. Everybody, come on and do the Humpty Hump. Do you know what we're doing the Humpty Hump?
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes. Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. And welcome back to the program, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle here, as we're joined by the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, Don Fisher. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Jim. How are you?
Great. Big weekend down in South Florida for the Hoosiers. Hope you had a great trip.
Well, there was no question we had a really good trip because Indiana won the football game, but it would have been a negative sign if we hadn't. But Indiana played very well in this ball game, I thought.
Yeah, the offense, pretty much what a lot of people expected. They came out and they were actually hitting on all cylinders. They didn't make a lot of mistakes, which is always a great sign in the beginning of the season for an offense. They didn't have a lot of false starts, a lot of offsides. They managed to run the offense. Peyton Ramsey ran the offense pretty efficiently. Had a little hiccup in the beginning, but he got past that pretty with ease.
Well, and you're going to see mistakes in the first game. It's a young football team in many respects. The offense certainly is not as young as the defense, but there's no question you're going to have a mistake or two made. I thought Peyton played some terrific football in the first half, and I thought Michael Penix in the second half looked very much like a terrific freshman prospect should. I don't think he made really any mistakes at all in the sense of how he went about his business. He looked very poised out there. But both players, I thought, played really well. I thought the offense did what it had to do. They were a very good, efficient passing team, just okay in the run game. And I thought they were pretty good in the run game while Cole Guest was out there. But unfortunately, he took an injury and late in the first half and is out for the season with an ACL, which is certainly a downer for this football team because this is a kid that played really, really good football here in the spring and in the summertime, as well as the fall camp. And honestly, this guy is a terrific player, and it's just a shame that he'll be out for the rest of the season with the ACL.
Yeah, and I know it happens to a lot of football teams because it's the nature of the beast with the sport, but it seems like, man, Indiana has just been snake bitten in the beginning of the season for the last several years. Last year it was Nick Westbrook, first play against Ohio State. Year before that, early on, it was Simi Cobbs. Last year they lost Jay Sean Harris as well, and then now after losing Morgan Ellison to lose Cole Guest, it's really going to put a squeeze on probably what was the deepest aspect of the offense, of the running game, but that's changed.
Well, there's no question they've got a lot of running backs, but when you lose two of your best ones, that's a negative, to say the least. The good news is that a freshman by the name of Stevie Scott came up and played well. He's got some things he's got to work on. There's no question about that. But he was the leading ground gainer in the game. He had 20 carries, 71 yards, or 70 yards actually in net yardage. He only averaged 3.5 yards per carry, but you can see that he's one of those guys that really, if he gets his shoulder pads right and starts running a little bit lower, I think he's going to be terrific because he's 6'2" and 233 pounds, and he's got some speed to him as well. So I think he adds something to this team. There's no question about that. Tom Allen has talked about Ronnie Walker, the kid from Virginia who's a four-star athlete coming to IU. Did not show himself a lot in fall camp, but I think he's come on a little bit, and we're probably going to see him in the near future as well. But they've got a bevy of backs, and Mike Majette, of course, will probably take over the initial load here with Guest being out. I think there's Ricky Brookins. We did not see him at all on Saturday as far as the run game is concerned, but I think he's another guy that could come up and take up some of that slack. So there's a lot of different faces that we still could see, and Ellison obviously could come back as well, although his suspension is indefinitely.
Yeah, and we're talking with Don Fisher, of course, voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. Reese Taylor, we expected to see him, but he was a pleasant surprise. He was very effective when he was in there.
Well, Reese is a guy that's just a terrific athlete, one of those players that you can play at multiple positions, and of course he did on Saturday night. He played both offense and defense. He is really a talented freshman. He was Mr. Football in the state of Indiana from Ben Davis High School, a quarterback in high school. He was slated to be a defensive back this season, but they thought they'd utilize him some on the offensive side with packages and things that they could take advantage of that talent and athleticism with, and they did that on Saturday night. He played on both sides of the football. He's basically been ruled back to the quarterback room now with the rest of the quarterbacks because with the injury or with the transfer of Brandon Dawkins, they needed a third guy that they could really count on if, in fact, something would happen to the first two, and that's why Reese has been moved to the quarterback position as far as learning those plays and all that kind of stuff. He did some stuff on the offense. Most of it was as a running back or a wide receiver on Saturday nights. He really wasn't a quarterback in this ball game, but there's no question his talent and athleticism allows him to get on the football field, and he'll help this team this year. There's no question.
And we saw both quarterbacks as expected, Penix and Peyton Ramsey. Peyton started, of course, and played the bulk of the minutes. But Michael Penix came in and showed what he is probably going to be capable of sooner rather than later, I think. His pass percentage, not percentage, but completion, I think he averaged around 9 yards a catch as opposed to the 5 yards for Peyton. So I think you see that Michael Penix is the guy that's probably going to end up stretching the defense at some point sooner or later.
Well, and despite the fact that Peyton's numbers weren't quite the same as Penix's, I still think that we saw a real improvement in Peyton Ramsey's arm in this football game. He threw a bullet on two different occasions. One was to Donovan Hale, who also made an impact in this football game on Saturday night with 2 touchdowns and 2 really good catches. But that shot that he took from Ramsey in the first half, and it was just a bullet pass by Peyton Ramsey. We really didn't see that last year at all.
No.
And that was a terrific throw. And I thought Peyton's arm is definitely stronger than it was a year ago. I don't think there's any question about that. Is it still where it needs to be or where you like it to be? Probably not, but he was so efficient in his performance on Saturday night and scoring and actually helping Indiana to 3 touchdowns with his throwing arm. Both these kids are terrific players. It's great to have 2, and Penix obviously is going to be a guy that's going to see action here. I don't know how long they'll continue this because if they, in fact, tend to redshirt him in some way, if they can do that this year, and because of injury, perhaps not, but if they can redshirt him, How do you play him maybe, say, in the first 4 ball games and then let Peyton go the rest of the way? And then if Peyton would get hurt someplace down the road, then you've burnt that red shirt. So I don't know if we'll see Michael Penix a lot here in the next couple of ball games, just because if they don't need him, why use him and waste that red shirt?
Yeah, Peyton hasn't shown that he can go downfield yet, but like you talked about, there was one touchdown pass particularly where he did not only throw a bullet, but he threaded a needle. There was defenders on each side, and he was nearly going out of bounds. He stopped, set his feet, and threw the ball. It was a veteran throw. He didn't make it any more difficult than he needed to, and it was a difficult throw to begin with, but he put it right on the money for a score.
Yeah, that's the thing about this kid. He's a smart young man. He really works at his craft. There's no question he knew he had to get a stronger right arm, had to get a stronger arm for the throws downfield. I think he's done that. It doesn't mean that he's where he needs to be at 100%, but he has certainly improved himself. I think it was just a terrific performance by both the quarterbacks. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The receiving core, I think, proved that they are perhaps the deepest position on this football team with how they played. And from an offensive standpoint, I think you could say there were lots and lots of pluses. From a defensive side of the ball, I know Tom Allen yesterday in the press conference was not very pleased with how the defense performed, but a lot of that had to do with the mistakes made by young guys. When you lose 8 starters on your defensive side of the football, you've got some rebuilding to do, and there's no question they have. I think the bright side of that is I thought I saw some really good athletic play from a lot of different people out there, and there were a lot of freshmen making strong contributions in this football game. So the one thing that Indiana has really emphasized again this year, and they emphasized it last year too, but didn't get as many as they would have liked, was getting turnovers, and they certainly were able to do that on Saturday night with 3 against Florida International. Jonathan Crawford was terrific as the senior leader back there at the safety position. Of course, had a pick 6 in the ball game. I saw some things that were positive. Obviously, Tom was not pleased with the linebacking play, and obviously he felt the defensive line could have done better as well.
And I think that his concerns were what was expected from the beginning of the year. Those were the known weaknesses. But if it had to be a side of the ball that it was behind a little bit, I guess I would prefer it was the defense, knowing that Tom Allen is there and knowing what he can do with those guys, that they're probably about where they were last year at this time statistically. But hopefully they can get it turned around, as he usually has done for the last couple of seasons. What about the no-name? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, that's the thing about Tom Allen. You know he's going to find a way to at least negate some of the problems that your defense has, because he's a defensive genius, in my opinion. He's one of those guys that can find a way to get the defense to a level of which they can compete. And right now, with this football team as young as they are and with such little experience as they have at so many positions on defense, that's basically all you can really hope for, because when you're that young and you're using that many guys that have not played many minutes before or any minutes before at the college level, you're making adjustments each and every ball game. That's the other thing I think Tom Allen does tremendously well. He makes adjustments on the defensive side as the game is ongoing. He doesn't wait till halftime. He makes changes in the beginning. And they used a ton of players in this football game. I mean, they're getting a chance to see maybe 70, 80 different different players in a ball game. More than 80, obviously, because they can only take, I think, 74. But nevertheless, you're seeing a lot of different faces out there, and it's a chance for these kids to show themselves. And I know from a football player standpoint, they love that.
And I know that you can only say so much because you're actually an employee of Indiana, but the no names on the jerseys did not seem to be a very popular thing this weekend for people trying to watch the game. It seems like it took a little bit away from the experience of the game.
Well, I could say that I dislike it or I like it. It doesn't matter what I say. The fact of the matter is the names are off the jerseys now, and the football team was the only team that did not have that. But football is a little bit different game, and I think from a fan's perspective, the name on the back of the jersey helps them identify kids a little bit better. But now you're just going to have to read your program a little stronger right now, because all you've got to work with is a number.
That's it. Virginia coming up. They move up to the ACC caliber tournament this year, and a game they won last year on the road as Peyton Ramsey made himself known for the Hoosiers for the first time.
Well, we're going to see a different Virginia ball club. They've got a new quarterback this year. This guy is dynamic. His name is Bryce Perkins, and he had a terrific ball game in the opener for Virginia. They were a different-looking football team. They've been able to add something with Perkins because the kid that they had at quarterback last year was basically a drop-back, in-the-pocket type quarterback, and he was a possession-type quarterback as well. This guy is dynamic with his feet and had a dramatic effect on their offense. There's no question about that. He ran for a couple touchdowns. He threw for 2 or 3. He had a terrific first game against Richmond. Now, Richmond's 1AA, or what we used to call 1AA. Now it's FCS, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't keep the bowl, football bowl package or whatever the case may be straight. I'm old school, so I call them Division II. But nevertheless, Virginia's a really good football team. They've improved themselves under Bronco Mendenhall, who's their coach. Just been there a year or two now, and this is going to be a football team that will come to Indianapolis, or rather Bloomington, and feel very good about themselves on Saturday, and they should. And it's going to be a test for Indiana. There's no question about it, especially with this quarterback.
Looking forward to it as the Hoosiers open up home play against the Virginia Cavaliers this weekend. Don Fisher, we thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Don Fisher, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. And we'll be back with a lot more. We've got Matt Weaver on the program today from Peaks.com and Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. That and plenty more. Stay tuned here on Big X Sports Radio. This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer. Welcome back to a Hump Day edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Hump Day.
Justin Kalen, high top crew chief's box, keeping us spinning around. I think I lost my headphones there for a second. Welcome in, and we appreciate you taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We know you have a choice, and we greatly appreciate taking Indiana Sports Beat along with you. Well, we're halfway through the week. We got the first week of college football down. Indiana taking on Virginia this week. Stepping up a little bit. ACC. They looked pretty good in their game. They hung 40 points on whatever cupcake they played.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. You just heard Don Fisher talk about it there. I mean, they played a Division II school.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes.
So not impressed.
No, not impressed. I've lost my impression.
This honestly, realistically, should be a game that Indiana has not a lot of trouble with. The fact that they're at home, I think, helps a lot. And it's the first game in Memorial Stadium, the completely renovated Memorial Stadium. I think they're going to have an easy time this week.
I think you're probably right. And it's going to be fun to watch, and we'll be there, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be doing some live reports up there, pre- and post-game.
Come on.
That'll be online. So make sure you stay tuned with this. We'll be interactive afterwards. Questions will be on either Facebook Live. We'll let you know in advance, but how we're going to do it. But we'll make it interactive to make it fun either way. A little recruiting news, Armand Franklin, he's got his schools down to 3, which basically is down to 2. Xavier's in there, but don't see that happening. The other 2 are Purdue and Indiana. So Purdue and Indiana coming down to a recruiting battle. And a lot of people are picking Purdue for Armand Franklin.
When did Xavier get in all these battles? Seems like
because they've been winning for the last several years.
It seems like every big Indiana name is looking at Xavier. I mean, Brandon Newman's got him on his list as well.
Well, they're a good program. They've been a top 5 program for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That'll get you recognition. That'll get you some players. It's exactly what that does, and it has. I'll tell you who I'm amazed that has stayed up on recruiting talk is Louisville. A lot of people still keeping them on their list. Now they're not getting 5 stars and things like that, but they're getting decent recruits.
Yep.
But I did see yesterday they put out a walk-on tryouts. I chuckled. I'm like, really?
Any students want to try out? Here's your.
It was
information.
limited to University of Louisville students only.
Yeah.
By the way, I noticed. That's just kind of hilarious. So I'm like, really? You're that lean? You got to have tryouts for walk-ons? You know what a preferred walk-on is at U of L?
What's that?
One with a pulse. A lot of schools have preferred walk-on status.
Yep.
And U of L's just you just got to be breathing, apparently. Yeah, that was kind of funny. I can't say that I've seen that at a big-time program. Indiana didn't even do that, did they, when they were going through their horrible time?
I think they might have.
They might have had them, but I don't know.
I want to say my freshman or sophomore year, they had a walk-on tryout.
Did they publicize it like that?
I believe so. I'm looking at Jake behind me. He's giving me the yes.
Okay.
I think I remember that being a thing.
Well, and Louisville's not as far gone as Indiana was.
No.
So it's still a little surprising.
Louisville will. I could safely say I think Louisville will win more than 6 games.
Yes, they got enough cupcakes on the lineup for that, for sure.
Josh texted into the show 502-414-1450 if you want to do the same. Indiana scored 34 points on Virginia last season with a much worse offense. I think Indiana is just fine on Saturday.
That is a very good point, and it was an offense that struggled, I guess, a little bit with Richard Lago, because that's where Peyton Ramsey came in and made his bones on the road against Virginia. Led Indiana to a somewhat of a surprising win last year. It wasn't expected last season when they went and did that.
Yeah, it was looked at more of a good win. This year it's an expected win.
And a needed win. Very much so. They cannot drop any game. You cannot drop a non-conference game. Nope. No way can they afford to do that. But I don't think they're in any danger of that with Virginia. I don't think they're in any danger with that with Ball State. Now, though, earlier on as I looked through the season, I didn't even pay much attention to the Maryland game. Well, that's changed a little bit.
Yep.
Since they beat Texas for the second year in a row. Was this at Texas?
I don't know where it was. Give me a moment.
That would be even more impressive. Not that it's not already impressive, it is. But they started off the season with a win over a ranked team. It's pretty good getting a win to start off the season, period.
Maryland had them at home. Maryland was at home.
Well, they beat him on the road last year. But, so Maryland's obviously not going to be an easy game, although Indiana has them at home. That's going to help. But, man, you talk about really raising the stakes for the visit by Matt Canada now to Bloomington as a head coach. That's going to be something.
Makes it even more fun.
So now you got more drama added. You've got Maryland coming in with Matt Canada as the coach. You got Purdue coming in and Iowa coming in. Those are 3 games that are not included in the Big Four. So that made the season just got a little tougher.
Yeah.
You got Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State that that Indiana has to run through because they're in the Big Ten East. Now you got to add Maryland to that. So there's a 5th team that obviously is very talented. Then you have to play an Iowa team and Purdue. So How's the bowl eligibility looking right now, you think?
I would say not good. But, I mean, it's only been 1 week. We didn't see a whole lot from Indiana last week. I mean, they're not going to go out there and run every play they've got.
Well, I think their offense was fine.
Yeah.
The question is going to be on the
Defensive.
defensive side of the ball.
Right.
Are they going to be able to turn it around, which they very well may be able to because you've got Tom Allen, a coach. That's the guy that got them to where they were because they were in the tank defensively before he arrived. He did it before. I think he can do it again. But they seem to be they're behind where they were for sure.
Tom Allen's son got a tackle last week.
Got his name on the book. Got a stat.
That's right.
Got a stat.
A couple texts into the show. Josh texts in again, says Indiana had a walk-on tryout in 2009, and Kip Schutz, a baseball player, made the team. Forgot about old Kip Schutz.
As did I. And I will do so again as soon as we get done talking about him.
Fair enough.
Just saying.
And then Joker says preferred walk-on at Louisville is one in a G-string. Little Tina from PT is a scholarship player.
Well, there's that. That's probably going to get lost on everybody outside of the area. Little inside joke there, I think. But I was talking about Armand Franklin. He's Mike Schumann, and we'll talk to Mike about it, but he said he's on commitment watch.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
I think Mike made it up. I'm going to ask him about it. I said, you just made that up, man. But he's expecting, which he must have gotten this somewhere, but possibly a decision in the next couple days. Which, a little surprising.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting one that soon.
Well, there hasn't been one yet.
No, I meant from him. I didn't know that his was coming that soon, so
He doesn't seem like the type of player that would drag it out.
I don't know what kind of player he is.
Well, I mean, he's a 4-star. He doesn't have the high offers that a guy like Romeo had last year.
Well, not many people do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's
unless you're a top 5 recruit.
less to think about.
Yeah, he's got it down. He knows it's either Indiana or Purdue. That's
Although
much,
would Xavier surprise you?
Yes, very much so.
Would it?
Very much so. It's Indiana or Purdue. He's not going to Xavier.
See, I'm in the mindset Xavier wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay, well, I'll bet you it doesn't happen. How about
Well,
that?
I don't want to bet. I don't know if it's that serious.
No, I'm just saying it's not going to. It's going to be Purdue or Indiana, and the odds are people right now. The odds-on favorite is for him to go to Purdue.
Poor guy.
Yeah, well, everybody's got to land somewhere. Not everybody can play at the top. If he does, I hope he doesn't, for his own sake, if he picks Purdue, he's, NIT. I guess they have fun there too. He'll certainly be finding out because that's where they're bound this year for certain. I think.
Well, he won't get there till next year, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's where they're at.
He might miss the NIT era.
Ramsey, Jameis Ramsey's got schedules 5 official visits. Do you know where he's going?
I'm just looking it up.
I know. Indiana's one of those places.
Louisville.
See, again, Louisville. That's a surprise. Of course, Ramsey's a 4-star guard. He's making the move to Oak Hill Academy for his final year of high school after playing, I think he was at IMG in Florida last year?
I believe so, yeah.
IMG Academy. He's moving on to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia.
Where Troy Williams came from.
Exactly. He's a 6'4" guard with a 6'10" wingspan, college-ready frame. He's focused on a group of 10, although he's got his 5 visits picked out. Miami, LSU, Virginia Tech, Oregon, Indiana, Florida, Louisville, Memphis, North Carolina State, and Texas Tech. I believe he's going to visit Texas Tech, Louisville, Indiana,
Yep.
LSU,
And Miami.
and Miami. I was thinking it was Florida. I saw that Keon Brooks added a visit to North Carolina.
Yep.
A late ad. He'll be one of the guys that's at Hoosier Hysteria. That's going to be a huge group there. I think Ramsey's going to be there. Keon Brooks, Trace Jackson Davis. There's more.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many committed at this point that it's hard to keep track of them. We should just start a list.
Well, they have many lists. That's why I let the other people do that.
Good call.
Gives them something to do. That's what the writers are for.
Sure, Mike Schumann will know that information.
Keon's going to visit North Carolina on November 2nd. Getting into the year. He definitely probably won't be committing this year. Kentucky's trying to get in also with Zeke Najee.
That's such a fun name.
It's easy, really.
I think it's Najee, but
Najee, yeah, well. Najee, tomato. Is Kentucky trying to get those two Minnesota Stars to Lexington? Of course, maybe the other one would be Matthew Hurt.
Matthew Hurt's the one recruitment that I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. I mean, this kid's had offers from everywhere for such a long time now. I'm excited to when he finally makes his decision and just ends it. I'm gonna be very happy.
You are? Why?
I don't know. I mean, I hate these long out, drawn out commitment or recruitments, and his may not have been that long of a recruitment. I mean, it's just the fact that he's been recruited from such a young age. You hear these names over and over. Just wears you out.
Christian Lander from Evansville Bossy. He is a five-star player from Evansville, ranked number 14 in the class of 2021. He is going to visit Kentucky for Big Blue Madness. He'll also be in attendance at Hoosier Hysteria in Indiana. I don't know when Big Blue Madness is.
I want to say middle of October.
That would be October 15th.
That's my birthday.
That's why you said that, just so you could talk about your birthday. Hurt and Najee are AAU teammates for D1 Minnesota. So they're very familiar with each other. That would be quite the pair to get.
Yeah. October 12th, by the way, for Big Blue Madness.
So that's 2 weeks after Hoosier Hysteria.
Yep.
Which means Kentucky's season probably doesn't start then for, is that right? 2 weeks later? Because Indiana's is based on the start of the season.
Yeah, they have a exhibition on October 26th and November 2nd. And then they play their first game, looks like November 6th against Duke.
Indiana will be playing Duke, the Blue Devils, as well as they travel on the road for a December matchup. Looking forward to that. Coming up on the program today, we've got Matt Weaver from Pigs.com, Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. We've got more recruiting news to talk about, and we'll get previewing this week's college football. Stay tuned on Morning.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Welcome back to a Hump Day edition of Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Hump day.
We're halfway through on this easy short week. Man, it got here quick.
Yeah. It's crazy it's already Wednesday.
That's the best thing about those Monday holidays is the short week. Plus, we're going to get some rain this weekend as it is blowing up from the Gulf of Mexico, I believe. They've had some tropical storms down there, and it is all heading towards the Midwest.
Love it.
Need a little fall rain. It's going to knock some leaves down, man. It's going to turn in. That's when you get that fall look. It's September. You get that wet leaves on the ground. It's fall. It's football's here. Pretty fun. Fun stuff. This weekend, week 2, college football getting underway. Indiana taking on Virginia, the Cavaliers out of the ACC. Not a lot of big games this weekend.
No.
There were quite a few good ones last weekend. But I'd say we're going to have to toil through the next week or two as teams round out their cupcake non-conference schedule.
The good news is it gets fun after that.
Before we get into conference play. And then things get fun. Indiana takes on Ball State after that. Before we get to too much further, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, these are your headlines for September 5th on this Wednesday. Brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart, located on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. Hit them up for their breakfast. Fill your gas tank or hit up a daily lunch special. $5.99 for a ribeye steak sandwich and cheesy potatoes today. The Ryder Cup team almost finalized as Captain Jim Furyk uses his captain's picks on Tiger, Phil, and Bryson DeChambeau. They join Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, Jordan Reed, Brooks Koepka, Webb Simpson, and Bubba Watson, who all qualified on points. Hasn't played since 2016, but former Philly great Ryan Howard officially retires from baseball. And the Seattle Storm and Washington Mystics set to square off in the WNBA Finals. Those are your headlines for this Wednesday, September 5th, brought to you by Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart. $5.99 ribeye steak sandwich and cheesy potatoes lunch special today.
Get out of here. That's a pretty good special, man.
That's a hell of a deal.
I'm telling you. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm glad I go there. Every day.
I was pretty upset with Billy Joe's on Monday.
Why?
Because I went in there on Monday. I was starving. They didn't have any food cooked.
It was Labor Day.
I know.
It's a holiday.
So I really wasn't that mad because I realized they probably wouldn't. But, man, I was hopeful.
Why would you go in on a Monday?
I was just passing by. I could have went to the other place, but
I don't know. You made the right move.
I went to Billy Joe's instead.
You got to go on a non-holiday.
Yeah.
Just
I figured that out.
Just a consideration. Well, they had Big Red, and I had a Big Red yesterday. Big old fat one.
Can't go wrong with Big Red.
Nope. No. We've got Matt Weaver from Pigs.com joining us on the program today, as well as Mike Schumann. We're going to get caught up on some recruiting news we haven't talked about. And with Matt, we're going to do a little preview in the week. We'll recap a little bit of what happened last week, but looking forward to this weekend.
Did Matt make the trip down to Miami?
He did. He's the guru, man.
Everybody went.
Except for you and me. But I'm sure I get to go to Piscataway, New Jersey.
That'll be a hell of a good time.
That's a joke. I'm not sure anybody else got that, but that was a joke. I've never been to Piscataway, New Jersey, but it doesn't sound inviting.
Sure, it's a great place.
Well, it's not too far from New York. It's like 35, 40 minutes from New York, I think. But looking forward to going on the road when the Indiana goes to the Big House and to the Shoe over in Columbus. Not looking forward to that game in Columbus, though. They're looking pretty scary. The Buckeyes, man, they came out on all cylinders. They hung over 70 points on Oregon State this past weekend. Michigan, on the other hand, of course, they lost to Notre Dame. It's not like they lost to some chump. Notre Dame's a top 10 team right now. And I believe that was at Notre Dame. And they lost by a score. So it's not like they got thumped.
Yeah, but they did get thumped. The score wasn't that close. I don't think they played within a touchdown of Notre Dame.
Yeah, they weren't. It didn't seem like that they were in fear of losing that game. But Jim Harbaugh, he'll make it through the season. But I think this is the swan song, man. There's no way he's beaten Oregon or Ohio State this year. No way. Now he has a shot to beat Michigan State. They struggled a little bit to open the season up, but I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, maybe it'll be the type of year where Michigan loses, say, another one, and they start to mail it in. Maybe Indiana's able to pick up a win.
Well, that would be unbelievable since that has not happened since, I don't know.
87?
Moby Dick was a minnow, baby. 87, they beat him in Bloomington. The last time they beat him at the Big House, get your atlas out. Start Googling. I don't know when that is. It's been a minute. I don't know if it's ever happened.
See if I can't find it.
Long time ago, if it did. Very long time ago. And then Indiana going on the road to Ohio State. Yeah, that I see no chance for I see no path for victory there. I see a road game at Minnesota that they have a shot at. Man, I was listening to there was a Cardinals game last night. I forget who they were playing. Oh, Washington. Man, they were scoring runs like a video game. There was a grand slam home run. I think the final score ended up being like 11-9.
11-8.
11-8. Man, they were hitting home runs, hitting runs. Bottom of the ninth inning. The Nats, I think, scored 3 or 4 runs in the ninth.
They suck.
Yeah, but it was an exciting game.
They did score. Cardinals scored 4 in the ninth. Nats scored 3.
Yeah, what a fiery ninth inning.
Tim T texted into the show, 502-414-1450 if you'd like to do the same. Asks, is Piscataway, New Jersey, where they filmed Groundhog Day?
Isn't that Puxatawny? Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm. Thought so.
Close enough, though. But thanks for the text, and do so. If you got any questions coming up for Matt Weaver or Mike Schumann, shoot them in on the text line, 502-414-1450. Make sure you follow Indiana Sports Beat on Facebook, and you can look us up on indianasportsbeat.com and log in to get your daily dose of the show so you don't miss a thing. And if you're an iTunes user, we're available there, man. They're finding us in Sweden and the UK. Give us a review if you would, please. A positive one, hopefully.
By the way, Indiana has beaten Michigan at Michigan 7 times.
When was the last time that happened?
1967.
Exactly. Indiana used to be good in football, kind of year in, year out. That Rose Bowl thing was no fluke. They had some really, really good teams. And then all of a sudden, there was separation in the Big Ten. I believe that occurred in the 70s.
Now, where does that come from? I mean, you look at every conference, and there's separation among the top teams.
Well,
how does that get like that?
I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it's about the same time that Bob Knight arrived on campus. Indiana was already a basketball school, having already won 2 national titles at that time. But it had been almost 20 years since they had won their last national championship at the time when Bob Knight was hired. And it took off like a rocket ship. They were in Final Fours within 2 years. Within 4 years, they were having undefeated seasons, and it just never stopped. And then the football just kind of, again, lost its way, I guess. But, man, it was just the doldrums. 70s. Yeah, a little bit of Lee Corso in the middle there, though, late 70s.
That's
for
right.
some fun, but the early 80s were really bad. Bill Mallory, though, had a great run in the 80s. They were a game away from going to the Rose Bowl in 87, I believe. So it was there, and it's been back close. It just most people don't remember that much of it. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to be talking with Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat returns right after this.
Gonna take it right into the danger zone. Highway to the danger zone. Right into the
Hey, if you're in the market for a new truck or tractor, car, or ATV, you need to be at Hollis Auction Service on November the 10th. Located on Highway 150 in Greenville, just west of Highway 335, Hollis Auction Service also needs items for the auction. If you're looking to sell, call Billy Joe Hollis today at 502-664-1606. That's 502-664-1606. Make sure you're at Hollis Auction Service in Greenville on November 10th. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Speed with Jim Coyle here on Big X Sports Radio. It is a hump day version.
Hump day.
My headphones are very, very tenuous today. Matt Weaver from Pigs.com coming up on the program. Mike Schumann also from the Daily Hoosier coming up today as well, as we hope to get you updated on some recruiting information. Some visits are set. A lot of people are expecting a commitment soon from Armand Franklin, who basically, he's got his choices down to three schools, Xavier, Purdue, and Indiana. Many have thought that he is probably heading to West Lafayette. They seem to be the favorite there. But we'll find out. Keon Brooks has got a recruiting visit set up to North Carolina for November 2nd. That's kind of new. I won't say it was completely unexpected. He's getting recruited by everybody. Of course, he'll be in attendance at Hoosier Hysteria on September 29th at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, along with Trey Jackson Davis.
Speaking of Keon Brooks and a North Carolina visit, Bill texts in and says, this is the 20th anniversary of the ACC Big Ten Challenge. After this year, they would have played UNC and Duke a total of 9 times in those 20 years. Made for TV matchups?
Say that again.
Indiana has played in 20 ACC Big Ten challenges.
Uh-huh.
They have played Duke or North Carolina in 9 of those 20.
Yes. You know why?
Made for TV matchups, according to Bill.
Do you want to see? Who do you want to see? Indiana Duke or North Carolina or Indiana North Carolina State?
Maybe North Carolina State with Archie's connection.
Well,
But no, realistically.
how about Indiana Wake Forest?
Realistically, Duke, North Carolina.
That's what people want to see.
Absolutely.
They want to see the
best games.
They want to see marquee opponents. They want to see Indiana play Kentucky. They want to see the Dukes, the Kansases. That's what people want to see. They like those big games. And those are the ratings getters. Yeah, they're exactly made for TV. This whole thing is made for TV. Absolutely it is. No doubt on that whatsoever. Having a little trouble getting in touch with Matt this morning.
Might be sleeping in.
Well, maybe. He's got a busy job as well. He's not used to, he doesn't have to get up this early, quite normally. But we'll keep trying to get a hold of Matt.
Go to Mike.
No, just keep trying to get a hold of Matt.
Okay.
And was looking forward to previewing the Virginia game this week. We've talked a lot about last week's game. The offense did what they were supposed to do. Didn't make hardly very many mistakes. Peyton Ramsey had one obvious mistake in the beginning. He threw a pick. Really telegraphed that pass when he threw it, but he more than made up for that. He was 20 of 27 overall on the day, 156 yards, 3 touchdown throws. Nice stat line. Walt Fuller. Didn't hear his name much, though, did we?
No, I don't remember hearing his name at all.
Just thought of it.
I know, actually, he had I believe, an end around at one point in the game that went for
But
about 10 yards.
Jonathan Crawford and Donovan Hale, they're cousins. They played on the same high school team in Florida. They're used to they were named offensive and defensive players of the week this week. They're used to that, doing that together. They've been doing it for quite some time.
And both had huge games on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Jonathan Crawford especially. Defensively, he was a huge key cog for Indiana. He had the fumble. He forced the fumble. He had the interception.
Pick six, not
Yeah.
just interception. He had
Yeah.
a pick six, taking it back. And then, of course, Donovan Hale, 2 touchdown receptions. 2 of those 3 catches that Ramsey threw were to Donovan Hale. That's what having your guys back, your receivers. You need those. You need the Nick Westbrooks and Donovan Hales and Luke Timians. You got to have those guys, especially after having lost their number 1 and 2 running back. It's just there's not much more room for error.
Will Donovan Hale be the leading receiver for Indiana this year?
It's a good question.
That'd be kind of a surprise. I mean, I wouldn't call it a surprise, but a breakout receiver. Everybody thought it would be Nick Westbrook or Luke Timian. Be nice if Donovan Hale could come out and lead the way there, and then you got Luke Timian and Westbrook still in the background.
Yeah, I think that may depend upon who ends up being quarterback or getting more time at quarterback, whether it's Penix or Ramsey. Because the passing game is going to look very different between those two guys. With Ramsey, you're going to get a lot of short intermediate passes, which suits Indiana's offense because you can go bang, bang, bang. But it's still, you need the ability to get down the field a little quicker. You need the ability to stretch the defense. We talk about that a lot, and that means going deep, making them go deep, making their defense stretch longer. Because if you don't, and you let them stay cramped up near the line of scrimmage, they're just going to put 9 in the box and stuff your run game. If you don't show them that you're a dangerous passing team. And Indiana is a good passing team, medium range, but they have not provided the long ball yet. Now, we're only a game in, but going back to last year,
Yeah, and yet,
that's not something Peyton Ramsey, that's not his milieu.
and you have to wonder if they're going to bring that up at some point. I mean, will that be the reason that Michael Penix doesn't get a red shirt and ends up playing more than 4 games this year because of his arm strength and the fact that he is able to get it down the field?
Well, that's one of the reasons,
Right.
yes. We've been talking
Right.
about that all year.
Right.
That's the difference between him and Ramsey.
Well, I mean, right
that's
now
what sets him apart.
Well, right now, I think we're still in a holding pattern. What's going to happen with Michael Penix? Will he get that red shirt? Will he not? I mean, coach hasn't said either way.
Well, he's not going to say it until the end of the season. You don't say it until you play in a 5th game. There's no sense in addressing it.
Yeah.
There's no point in addressing it until it needs to be addressed. But no, there's no way he's going to be. Well, I shouldn't say there's no way. I would find it very difficult to believe that he's going to be able to redshirt this season, being the number 2 quarterback, having already played significant minutes Monday, and those were good minutes. He was 8 of 10 throwing the ball, and he went downfield. And while he didn't connect, they drew a penalty. They drew a interference call. So it's not, to me, again, it's just not going to be long. He's going to be, I think he'll be the starter this year. I think that it's going to change. I still think you're going to see 2 quarterbacks even when that happens because I think it gives a different look, and they are very different quarterbacks when they're in there.
No doubt. One of our guests yesterday, though, I can't remember if it was Chronic or even Don Fisher, but one of them was saying, why use Penix if you've got Ramsey? Why use him if you don't need to? Then you could still save that red shirt. I mean, if Ramsey,
because he's a better quarterback, because he can do more, just because he's younger, Get him the experience now so he can win this year.
Right. And that I agree with that.
Can you?
100%.
Here's how I look at it. Can Indiana beat Michigan at Michigan with Peyton Ramsey? To me, no. I say no, they cannot.
Can they beat him with Penix?
That's their only chance. Does that mean that happens? No, it doesn't mean that happens. I think by the time that rolls around, that is a distinct possibility that he is in that position. So, and I believe we have Matt on the phone with us. We'll get a quick version in with Matt. Hey, Matt, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay.
Good. We've been talking about last week's game, but coming up this week is going to be another round, especially we were talking about the quarterback situation and how Ramsey has solidified himself as a starter, but I think it's a matter of time before Penix steps up in there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, he didn't get a lot of snaps Saturday night, but the ones he did, he didn't look like a freshman to me. He looked poised. He looked like a veteran. He played well.
He was confident. He was definitely confident.
Moved the ball well, and looked great.
He's confident going down the field. That the one pass they went deep, he didn't connect, but they drew an interference call. He was confident going. He had no hesitations. He is ready to play, I think.
Yeah, and he had another pass down the seam where he just barely overthrew a guy. He was open, and that's a pass I think you'll start seeing him hit as the season goes along, and get some of those big plays.
Talking with Matt Weaver from Peas.com. Also, doesn't Matt Penix give him a little bit better of a running quarterback when he's in versus Peyton Ramsey?
Yeah, they're probably pretty even there. I mean, actually, Ramsey's speed Ramsey was a pretty good runner in high school, and his speed has gotten better since he got to IU. In fact, everybody talked about how fast and explosive Brandon Dawkins was. I had heard that in the testing. Peyton Ramsey had run as fast as Brandon Dawkins. So I think as far as that, I think it's probably pretty even there. I think obviously where Penix has the clear advantage is throwing the ball, especially the deep ball and some of those throws where you have to display your arm strength. But I think as far as running, it's probably fairly close.
The biggest question last weekend, well, not question, but hole that you could see was on the defensive side, and Coach Allen talked about it, that linebacker end of the line, the defensive line, didn't look as sharp as he had hoped. There were some holes. They gave up some scores in the latter part of the game, some long drives that they probably could have finished out without, and it would have looked a lot better, at least on paper, but they didn't, and they allowed those. And Virginia's not the same Virginia team as last year, so this should give them another week to try to work those out.
Yeah, and I always say, you always hear the biggest improvement a team makes is from week 1 to week 2. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the case with Indiana. The D line had some leaks. I think the linebackers, on that long run, Cam Jones, the true freshman, was out of position. The 36-yard run that they had, if he's doing his job and in the right spot, it's probably a 2-yard gain, and instead the guy popped it for a big one. So those are the mistakes you're going to have to live with young players. You hope they learn from them and get better, but. Yeah, the D line's going to have to kind of tighten things up. And the same thing with the linebackers.
Now, how does this compare? I know it's a completely different defense, but game 1 last year defensively, how was Indiana as opposed to this year?
Well, obviously last year the opponent was completely. You're playing Ohio State, who was just obviously incredibly loaded. And if you remember, they were in the first half they did a pretty decent job against Ohio State defensively. The second half is when it kind of fell apart. They just the speed kind of took over, and Indiana wore down, and they got some big plays on them. I think last year's defensive line is ahead of where this year's defensive line. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And obviously the linebackers too. Secondary wise, I think this secondary is ahead of last year's. But the most important thing in football is two most important things is be able to run the ball on offense and stop the run on defense. So they're going to have to work on that defensively, especially this week. Virginia's got a mobile quarterback, Bryce Perkins. He's not a great thrower. Against Richmond, I think he was like 17 out of 32 or something like that. He's not going to kill you with his arm unless you let him, but he can really run the ball. He had 108 yards rushing last week, so really athletic. You got to keep him contained. You can't let him get out and pop some big runs. Try to keep him in the pocket, make him beat you with his arm, because I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, and Justin Kalen here, Matt. Got a text into the show. What about an option offense with Penix and Reese Taylor in the backfield?
Well, I think you could maybe see them do some plays that are option-like. I don't think they'd ever go full-time to an option offense because, in my opinion, with Penix, if you do that, you're taking away what he does best. And that, to me, is what he does best is throw the ball. I think that's his strength. So I could see some plays in there where you do that. I mean, to me, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of an option offense sometime if you ever put Reese under center, maybe put him back there with Walt Philyor. Let those two guys run. How tough would that be to defend? Two of the fastest guys on the team, two of the biggest playmakers. Who are you going to defend if you're the defense? So I don't know if we'll ever do that, but to me that would be fun to watch.
I talked earlier. We didn't see a lot of WAP in Game 1.
Yeah, and I don't think that was by design. I just think it was kind of, I just think it's kind of how it played out. I think some other guys were open. I think he had the one, they did a jet sweep, or he had a pretty decent run. I think he'll be a guy that will definitely be heavily involved in the offense. I just think I don't think they intentionally went away from him. I just think that's kind of how the game played out. Other guys were kind of open. Like Timian got a bunch of catches. It's almost like maybe they kind of paid more attention to Wap, and Timian, was a beneficiary. Freifogel had some catches. So, like I said, I think as the season goes on, you'll see, they'll definitely get some plays where they try to, target Wap, but he'll be a huge part of the offense. I don't have any doubt about that.
How do you see things playing out on Saturday?
Well, I think it's going to be. I think Virginia they're different than last year offensively because last year their quarterback was a drop back guy. This year it's more of a dual threat. They've lost some pieces. I don't think they're as good on the O line as Florida International was. I think the D line. I think you'll see a better effort. I mean, I think it'll be a game. They'll make some plays. I think in the end, though, I like Indiana's chances to win this game. I said it before the season. I think they'll win, and nothing's changed after Game 1 for me. So I see Indiana winning by around 10 points or so.
Looking forward to it. We'll see you up there. I cannot wait. Have a great rest of the week, Matt, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Okay. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, brother. Matt Weaver from Pigs.com. Did a little abbreviated version there, unfortunately. But we'll catch up with him in full next week.
He had a sick child.
I hate when that happens. Hope they get better. But Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier is coming up next. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Mike.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
Today's guest is brought to you by Kentuckiana's Premier Truck Center, located 5 miles north of downtown Louisville, just off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville.
On the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round, and they gazed in a wide wonder.
Welcome back to the program here, Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle, Big X Sports Radio. We've got Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier joining us now. Mike, how's it going?
Good, Jim. How are you doing this morning?
I'm all right, man. It's the middle of the week, short week, and headed towards a football game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. But we got a lot of recruiting news going on right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like we do, but we don't.
Yeah. Well, actually, if there's anything you're like, oh, there's some news, there's some stuff. It's not really, but we're kind of making news out of it, I guess. But some recruiting visits have been set up. Saw Keon Brooks is going to be going to North Carolina in early November.
Yeah, let's start with that one because I find that one maybe the most intriguing of anything going on right now, just because of the timing of it. I gotta believe that he's serious about that visit. You never know. He's been pretty good for the most part at keeping things close to the vest, but everybody knows he's going to be at Hoosier Hysteria in late September. He's been kind of taking a few visits with his AAU teammate Trace Jackson Davis, and part of me was starting to think, maybe there's going to be a little package deal there. Maybe there's going to be an announcement right around Hoosier Hysteria time, and then that visit to North Carolina comes, really right before, he would officially commit anywhere and sign on the dotted line. And so it makes you wonder, is he ever going to make it to that visit, or is he, dead set on having the visit, and that's one of his really top targets. It's a tough read. I don't want to make people nervous because I don't know what to think of it myself, but I was surprised more than anything just by the timing of it.
Well, he just got back from Los Angeles and talked about how incredible a city LA is, and I have to agree, it's one of my favorite places. But
Right.
it is a great place to go out there, and he seemed to have a great visit with Coach Alford and the staff at UCLA. They've got Chris Wilkes out there right now, another 5-star Indiana kid that he was able to lure out there. I don't see this being a viable option for him. He's not going to go out west, and even North Carolina, I think that it's just a cool thing. You've got to take that visit. How do you not go?
Right.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. He's taking these visits to these iconic schools that are recruiting him: UCLA, North Carolina, Indiana, whomever. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to Kentucky or not, but you got to take those visits. You owe it to yourself as a kid to do that.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's a feather in your cap, right? I took a visit to North Carolina, the same place that Jordan and Worthy and Perkins and all those guys played. I mean, as an 18-year-old, we all remember what our perspective was like. You're thinking about those things. You're thinking about, telling your friends about the visits you took and things like that. And to your point, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He and anyone else would be crazy not to do it. I know a lot of people are convinced, you included, that Trace Jackson Davis is coming to IU, and I am as well. But I think the same thing about him. You gotta take advantage of this. It's the only time in your life you're going to have all these schools, anyone really clamoring over you. From his commitment on out, it's going to be 100% work, 100% focus, and then at one point down the road, just busting their butts trying to make an NBA roster. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and I say go for it.
This is the only time it's not going to be about money.
Right.
The rest of their life, everything they do is going to be about money. This is the last big decision that they're going to make that is not just purely about the money. It's about where you're going to go to school, where you're going to spend the next year or two of your life, and then you make the money. But everything after that is going to be about the money. Whether you have people clamoring after you, whether it's the Celtics or whomever it may be, it's going to be about the money. This is that last hurrah of being a kid, I guess.
The end of the innocence, right? I think that's the song.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Armand Franklin. You said he's on. Is that a Schumannism? He's on a commitment watch. Is that right?
I'd like to claim that term, but I'm pretty sure I've heard it somewhere down the road. But I think I might have been the first to put the label on him this week. Yeah, I mean, I've just, from multiple places I've read and heard, people I've talked to, I think it's coming this week. And, as everybody knows, that can start to set off the dominoes. I think the most logical domino that it sets is Brandon Newman, who I don't think is on that same kind of timeline, but Armand's decision is going to impact Newman's decision to some extent, I think. A lot of people say they're not going to go to the same school. And, for Franklin, to me, based on everything I'm hearing and seeing, it really genuinely looks like a coin toss, which, if anything extends it beyond this week, that'll be what it is, just true indecision. If you put a gun to my head and made me pick, I'd say he's probably going to go to Purdue, but I don't have that on good faith from anyone. It's just kind of my own intuition based on what I'm seeing and hearing. But if that's the case, that may mean Newman doesn't go to Purdue, which makes him probably the most likely to go to Indiana. So, to the point of just, it's that time now where decisions are made and that affects others' decisions and the ball gets rolling like we saw last year with a lot of guys that started to commit to Indiana.
Yeah, because Brandon Newman has kind of shown his cards a little bit with returning home from Monteverde in Florida. to go to school in Valparaiso due to his mother's health, unfortunately. But that pretty much tells he's going to probably stay in Indiana to play his college ball.
Yeah, and if you even look at his top four, they're all, fairly close to home. So he's had interest more nationally, like from a Kansas and a Maryland and a few others. So, I think those options were out there, and that was part of the Montverde thinking, was to expand his horizons and see how far he could take it. But it looks like that's been dialed back, because of what's going on at home. And, of course, that's understandable, and we wish him all the best. But it also feels like he might be accelerating his timeline as well. So, where it was more kind of indecisive and unclear as to how far he might take it, and I think people can relate to this. If you've got bigger issues going on, you kind of just want to put all this stuff behind you and just move on. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he made a decision here in the next month or so as well.
And then also, Indiana's got just a load of talent coming in for Hoosier Hysteria. One of those is Jameis Ramsey. Is it me, or things just looking a little bit better for Indiana in regard to him right now?
I mean, anytime you get one of someone's five officials, it certainly looks better. Getting it on Hoosier Hysteria with 5 stars joining him, I mean, that's going to be a really good experience for him unless something really crazy happens. Official visits go well for everybody, but in that environment with other 5 stars, I mean, that's going to be an experience that he's going to really have to think hard about. And I suspect none of the other 4 officials that he's taking are going to compare. It may not be everything that matters to him in his decision-making process, but as far as just atmosphere and, overall experience, I don't think anything else is going to compare to that. And, he's been a guy that he's talked about extending his process out to the spring. In fact, he's been pretty adamant about it, but just here recently, he's narrowed down his list to 10, and then also scheduled his 5 official visits here in the last week. And so really he's narrowed down to 5. It doesn't make any sense to have those other 5 that aren't getting officials to think that they're really still in the mix. I can't believe that they still would be. So really he's down to 5 in my mind.
Right.
And, of the 5, I think I use the premier program. Louisville's in there as well, but I feel good about it just from the standpoint of, he's talked about wanting to go somewhere where basketball matters. And, I think he's going to just have a magnificent time at Hoosier Hysteria. So it's going to leave an impression. And so it'll be interesting to see if he really sticks to that spring timeline after it's all said and done, after he has these visits.
Well, and you talk about the domino effect. If Armand Franklin, let's say in the next couple of days he does commit, and let's say it's to Purdue, and does that kick Brandon Newman into gear? You talked about now. You also have Jameis Ramsey. Well, what about him? Because there's only going to be 3 quote unquote available scholarships next year. 2 of those are expected to be taken by Trace Jackson Davis and Keon Brooks. Hopefully, by most Indiana fans, that's what they're hoping for and expecting. That's what a lot of us are expecting. I think that it will be the case, but that leaves one open. Well, I mean, they can do a lot, whatever they need to, but theoretically, it only leaves one open guard scholarship for one guard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think they're open to having 2 big guys and 2 guards in the class. And I agree 100% with you. I was thinking about this earlier before we got on here that, if Franklin committed to Indiana, for example, that's definitely has to impact Ramsey's thinking, because to me they have very much overlapping games. I mean, I think Ramsey right now is the much more highly regarded player. He's got more what I would call college ready attributes in his game, but he has to be. He knows who Armand Franklin is. He's competed against him all spring and summer. and he would have to be thinking, did my spot just get taken? Although by the same token, because he knows who he is, because he's seen his game, he can also assess whether or not he can compete for playing time against him. But the larger point that you're making is dead on. That these decisions now, as soon as one guy goes, it just really starts things in motion. And I expect, even the guys like Ramsey that are talking about going to the spring, they have to rethink that every time somebody makes a move.
And then what happens if, to me, and I hate to label him, but Armand Franklin, if I had to pick out of the three, he's probably the third guard out of those three that we've talked about with Newman and Ramsey. And I've always been saying all along, what's stopping him from saying, hey, I'll take that scholarship? Because if you're the third out of three people, why would you not take it?
Yeah, but I guess the other way to look at it is if you got an uphill battle, why not go where you think you can see playing time faster? So I can see both sides of it, but I don't think Indiana's offered anybody. I don't think any of these top 12 guys that they're pursuing in this 2019 class are anyone that they're thinking, backup plan on. I mean, of course, some are better than others, and they've got their preferences. But the thing that people need to remember about Franklin, even though he's not, the highest rated kid in the class, is his trajectory is really something. He as a sophomore, I think he played at Fisher's in Indianapolis area, and he averaged like 10 a game, and then he transferred to Cathedral as a junior and averaged like 24 a game. So he's kind of come out of nowhere, and I trust the coaching staff to know what they're seeing better than me or anyone else, any of the analysts out there, and so beware of that trajectory, and he'll be a very interesting guy to watch as a senior playing in high school to see if he can continue to add on to what we saw year over year from his sophomore to junior year.
Very different year between last year and this year on the recruiting side for Indiana. Last year you had the three guys that hit bang, bang, bang within 24 hours earlier on. This year it's a longer waiting process, with the exception of Romeo last year. Everything was already in the book. This year everything is on hold in a waiting pattern.
Yeah, and it never happens according to the fans' plans or the coaching staff's plans. I mean, you're waiting on young kids to make up their minds, and I would be nervous if I didn't feel like, we didn't at least have one or two guys that, if I were forced to pick, I'd say are pretty good IU leans. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think, as we said, Trace is a very strong IU lean. I've never read anything that suggested he's going to go anywhere else. If I was forced to pick on Keon Brooks, I would pick Indiana. And they're going to get a guard or two in this class. It's just more a question of who and when. So, the timing, it can be tough to sit and wait. It can be tough to see other schools fill up their class before you have even one commitment. But there's no red flags or warning signs here that say worry about anything.
And I know you can't speak, or I can't speak for Archie or any of the coaching staff, but it's got to be kind of a pain to go into the basketball season and have to focus on that, but still have to maintain that focus on these top-end recruits. Yeah,
no doubt about it. I mean, I lose count of how many suits are on the sideline during games. I mean, they definitely have help with all this stuff, but you're exactly right. I mean, wouldn't you rather have it all signed and sealed and just be focused 100% on basketball right now? There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think they've got Newman and Christian Lander coming in this weekend, and they've got, the whole cast of characters in Hoosier Hysteria, and it's just going to keep going until they fill up the class. And you know what? Practice starts here in a couple of weeks, so you're exactly right.
And you talk about Christian Lander. He's only a sophomore, already a 5-star, ranked 14th in the 247. But he's going to, as a sophomore, he'll be going to Hoosier Hysteria and to Kentucky's Midnight Madness. Yeah,
he's going to be a name that you hear about for a long time here for the next couple of years. Very highly regarded. You look at him, and he doesn't blow you away with his size, but once he picks up the basketball, he does blow you away. I mean, he's just got everything you would want out of a point guard in his game right now, and he's got 2 more years to really progress. And it's going to be interesting. That class is absolutely loaded. I think more than the 2018 class in state in terms, and 2019 in terms of just overall in-state talent. IU could absolutely just focus 100% on in-state and have one of the top 10 classes in the country, in my opinion. With Lander being at the top of the list, another name that people know in that class is Jalen Blackman, who's the brother of James Blackman Jr., who set all the Marion High School scoring records as a freshman, which is a very high bar when you think about all the people that have come through that school. So it's going to be a really fun class to watch come together, and IU's really on top of it. That will be a class that that Archie and his staff have had the full time to really focus on and do all the due diligence on and really establish roots with. So that could be, of all the classes, that could be the one that really escalates Indiana to where they want to be.
Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier, we appreciate you, man. We'll look forward to talking to you this next week, and probably see you on Saturday.
All right, sir. Yep, we will see you.
Thank you. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Check his free content out at thedailyhoosier.com. That's going to pretty much wrap it up for us here today on the Indiana Sports Beat. Tomorrow on the program, your favorite, Terry Hutchins.
That's right.
He's back. Can't wait. Mr. Personality. Also, Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com will be joining us tomorrow, but look forward to that. And for Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle. Thanks for making it through another hump day here on Indiana Sports Beat.
Hump day.
Coming up next, Kentucky Roll Call with TJ Walker and Nick Roush. Stay tuned. We'll see you. I'll see you on the radio.